Have you ever wondered how we got from here to here?
Welcome back to Eek.
Today, we are here to talk about the most influential games in history. This is probably going to be a part one video, so you better hit subscribe if you want to see the next one, because I promise it's going to get crazy. What we're going to do right out the bat is we're going to get this out of the way. The term survival horror gets thrown around, and everyone online on the internet that's ever existed is going to argue about it on what is a survival horror game and what's not. It doesn't really matter. Let's be straight up. Every horror game, usually the point is to survive. All games are survival horror games if you would like them to be. We're gonna go all the way back to 1973.
Good year.
In 1973, a game called Hunt the Wumpus was released. From what I can tell, this was the first horror game. It was a text-based game, meaning you just it would give you prompts and you would have to type and respond to the prompts of it. It would be like, you're in a cave. Do you want to take a left, a right, or go straight? And you could say, I want to go right. And it's like, oh, it smells bad in here. And you could go through the whole cave like that.
It's like a choose your own adventure book.
For sure. And the object of the game is you go in a cave and you hunt the Wumpus. That's it.
Now, who's the Wumpus?
So the Wumpus is this weird, funky little like cryptid-esque thing. Fun fact for you actually is that the Wumpus was made into a Magic the Gathering card, and I believe it's the Hunted Wumpus.
Oh, whoa. That's so cool.
So yeah, it's a very obscure game that I feel like I don't ever hear anyone talk about, which is kind of a shame for it to be the first, like, at least one of the first horror games, and no one ever talks about it.
He's like a super wrinkly elephant.
Yeah, he's like a funky little dude. I don't know that I'd want to hunt him, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think I'm hunting the Wumpus.
No, not my thing, but, you know, someone's. And we are moving on to 1981.
1981.
What?
We're singing now. We're doing singing
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's our thing now.
We're doing singing stuff now.
We're the singing spooky guys. So, in 1981, a game called 3D Monster Maze.
I'd love to guess what this one's about.
Oh, please do tell.
I'm guessing it's this 3D maze, and there's a monster in it, and it's coming for you like Pac-Man, except it's not Pac-Man, it's a monster.
You're goddamn close. This is, believe it or not, a game where you just have to escape the maze. All right, there's just a big old dinosaur chasing you, and you have to get out of the maze. What's kind of different from this one than most of the games that we'll talk about for a little bit, this was a first-person one. It wasn't like a top-down like Pac-Man. You're like in first person running through the maze.
In the 80s,
so you can
were games like that in the 80s?
But that's why it's kind of crazy, because that was just not really a thing. I think there was probably like one or two other things. I don't think it was necessarily the first to do first person, but it was interesting. It was made by Malcolm Evans, who was actually in the aerospace industry before he made the game, and his wife gifted him a ZX81, which is a really old computer. Really old. I had no idea what it was. I had to look it up. It's basically just a really old computer.
Oh, that is really old.
Yeah, really old.
It doesn't even have a screen. Oh, yeah, it does. That is so strange looking.
Yeah.
Huh.
And when he got it, he wanted to test the limits for it and see what it could really do. So he decided to make like a little game. And it was a very rough draft of that.
That was his first game ever.
Yeah, bro. He worked in the aerospace industry. He was working on like planes and stuff like that.
Okay. He's just a really smart guy.
His homie J.K. Gray was basically like, dude, why don't you just like put a little dinosaur in there and make it like...
Oh, so it was just a maze before.
It was, yeah, I believe just a maze. And he was like, why don't you put a little dino in there and just make it a game? And
that's cool.
He did do that. And then friends were essentially like, dude, you could just sell this and just make, like, this could just be a video game. I'm sure people would buy this. And yeah, he did that. So that's how we got 3D Monster Maze. And we are still talking about it 43 years later. And it came from someone who used to work on planes. So I think that's kind of crazy. This next game, I really could find bare minimum of information on it. I don't believe it got like a release in America, so it was very hard to find much on it. Um, I believe it was a Japanese game by the company ASCII. Um,
see.
that might be what it is. That could be what it is.
I thought you were doing I thought you were doing Japanese on Duolingo. You should be able to read that.
Listen, all right, shut up.
You didn't get very far, did you?
No, I didn't. The bird started yelling at me, and I got scared. You want to talk? You want to talk about survival horror?
Yeah, if you leave him alone for too long, he gets cold and gets hypothermia and like emails you.
He'll
and
die.
Freaks out. Oh god.
He just showed up on my screen dead one day, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't go back now. He's a ghost."
Oh my god.
But this other game that came out in 1981 was, I'm gonna try my hardest to say this, and it's gonna be so wrong, so I apologize. So it's
I got it.
yeah, go ahead, go off.
Axe to Uchu Yoizen Nostromo.
Sure. But like I said, I can't find really anything on it except for like a few pictures of the gameplay and the box art. Box art looks sick. Couldn't tell you what the gameplay is from looking at the pictures. Box art's sick. Just wanted to mention that.
That picture looks like what allergies feel like.
Now we're in 1982.
1982.
So this is probably going to be the most popular of all the ones we've talked about so far. This is the only one I've ever actually personally played. Is Haunted House on the Atari.
Ain't no party like an Atari party. I'm playing Atari with
So in the game, you control a little. Your character is like a little pair of eyes, just a little funky guy, and you're just going through a real spooky, like haunted house. There's ghosts, there's bats, there's spiders. You know,
Is there guys with guns that you owe a lot of money to?
nope, so close. Yeah, with this haunted house game, a lot of people will argue and be like, "Well, that's not a horror game. That's not scary," and then compare it to bullshit like games that are way later and obviously scary. Shut up. They're doing what they can with like 7 pixels on the fucking screen. All right, leave them alone.
Give him a break.
It's a goddamn horror game for 1982. Leave it alone.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. That ghost is horrifying. He looks like he's hitting a boogie though.
Yeah, bro, he's going crazy. So for most of the 80s, most of the games that would come out are just kind of very like formulaic. There's a lot of ones based on movies, Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street. None of them really stood out until we get to 1989.
1989.
So in 1989, a game called Sweet Home came out from Capcom. The director of the game was Takuro Fujiwara. He had worked on like a couple of spooky little arcade games and stuff before it, but this game was definitely the big hit. It was released alongside a movie of the same title. The game definitely got more popular. The game is like a RPG style horror game where you play as like 5 different filmmakers, and you're going through an old mansion looking for frescoes, which I think are just paintings.
Fresco, isn't that a beverage?
That's what I thought.
A grape drink? No, grapefruit.
That's
Sparkling beverage.
That's what I thought, but when I looked it up, it said they were paintings. So,
No.
but you play as these different characters, just kind of going through this mansion and like you're navigating the mansion, battling supernatural little dudes. You have very limited health and resources. Does that sound familiar?
No.
All right. Well, okay. The game also does not stop if a character dies. Actually,
The Last of Us.
No, we'll get there though. You'll figure it out.
Well, there's limited health and resources.
We'll get there. You'll see where we're going with this. The game doesn't stop if a character dies. Actually, the story just kind of rolls with it, and you will get a different ending based on how you played the game.
So it's like Until Dawn.
Yeah, so it's like a format that's like pretty common nowadays, but it definitely wasn't super common in '89. It also it wasn't the first game to have different endings. However, it was very early on, and I believe was probably the first horror game to have different endings and stuff.
It looks way different than the other ones too. It's like a big boost in the graphics and I'm assuming the gameplay is a little bit more clean too. It looks a lot better. It looks newer. It looks fresh. It's bright. It's sassy. I love it.
Yeah, we're kind of starting to get to the point where these are games that like people will still make games that look like this now. Like games like Mad Father. I mean, it came out like a decade ago, but like there's a bunch of games that are like this RPG style. It makes them easier to make. You can still have effective stories and still be scary with this format, and it doesn't look awful. So not only being one of the first horror RPG games, this was one of the first games to like tell a story through notes that you have to kind of collect. Which like,
oh
no,
yeah, that's
seriously,
awesome.
doesn't that sound familiar? We're gonna talk about it in a second. Doesn't that sound familiar?
It does. Like every game ever.
We're gonna stop in 1992. We were cruising along, but we're gonna stop for a second, and we're gonna give a brief shout out to Alone in the Dark. I don't think that this game is necessarily like as influential as some of the games that we've talked about, but it is very, very popular and many people love it. So it felt wrong to just not mention it.
Shout out Alone in the Dark. I hate when I'm doing that though.
When you're alone in the
It's
dark.
like my least favorite thing to do.
What about when you're like walking through your bedroom and then you just feel something touch your leg and it's all dark?
There's a weird pile of clothes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like just in the shape of like, yeah, that
and
could
and
be.
You know it's your hoodie.
Yeah, you're looking at it and you're like, that is maybe my hoodie or a Children of the Corn. I'm not sure.
Or there's just a guy in here being really still.
Yeah, just really not moving. He's really trying to trick me. Now we're in 1996. All right. It's a good year. Scream came out that year, side note. Our attention is going to come to the game that I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for. Drum roll, please. Resident Evil. So in Resident Evil, you play as Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, members of a special military group, STARS, where you just kind of have to escape a mansion that's infested with zombies and monsters. Does that sound familiar?
Jesus Christ!
So not only
Damn
does
near
that
killed me.
Not only does that sound familiar, it is because I didn't know this going into this. Resident Evil was actually originally supposed to be a remake of Sweet Home, but on a new console where Takuro Fujiwara thought that he could better like show what he was trying to do with the game with like new graphics and new play style, stuff like that. So that was not supposed to be its own original series, but Capcom lost the rights to Sweet Home, so they couldn't do it anymore. So they just kind of had to tweak it a little bit, so it became Resident Evil.
Oh, rats.
Obviously, this was probably one of the most popular and influential games to come out of the horror genre. Do you know how many spin-offs and remakes there are of those things?
A lot. There's a lot of them.
There's 30. There's 30 of those things. Do you not believe me? Okay. Well, did you forget
Resident Evils?
Yeah, let me tell you. We got the Umbrella Chronicles, there's Revelations, there's Outbreak, there's Code Veronica, Deadly Science, but we're not done. We're not done. There's The Mercenaries 3D, Revelations 2, Outbreak File 2. And that's not that's not even all of them. And that's not
5.
even that's not even all of them, and that's not talking about all of the movies and the remakes. There's so many of them. There's like 31 of them.
There's too many of them. Are they all good?
I think a chunk of them are. I think
How big a chunk we talking?
a good percentage. And realistically, not all of them are in like the main storyline. They're like side adventures and quests with like not main characters and stuff.
Is there a mobile game?
I'll be honest, I would so not be surprised. It's crazy. When Resident Evil came out, it was praised for its graphics, sound, gameplay, but one thing it was not ever praised for was the dialogue and voice acting, because it was like really bad. Like, I mean, really bad.
How bad are we talking here?
We'll try to find a clip and throw it in the video if we can, but it's really bad.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
Yeah, Resident Evil was so popular that at the time it became the highest selling PlayStation game And
Ever?
yeah, and it was released in March of 1996, and by December of 1997, it sold over 4 million copies, which
Eesh.
was insane for the late 90s. And Fujiwara had only estimated that it would sell about 200,000, just because
Whoa.
horror games just don't sell like that. So
He's on a come up.
yeah, for sure.
He's driving around town in a Lamborghini Mercy.
Oh yeah,
Ilago.
sure.
Bro's got every Fortnite skin known to man.
Another brief mention is going to be for House of the Dead. Also came out in 1996. Well, it's not like the same kind of video game as these other ones. It's like an arcade game. While Resident Evil did the zombies more of like a spooky horror route, House of the Dead just kind of went more like horde shooter stuff like that.
I love those games. They're so fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Playing in a movie theater lobby.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we'll talk more about like the horde style games in a little bit. Now the year is 1999. Y2K is in a year, and that's really scary to everyone. But that's not what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about the release of a little game called Silent Hill.
Woo!
Let's go!
Dude, I miss when PlayStation games. I think I never even had one myself, but they were like my brothers and stuff, where the games were like CDs. Like it was like small. That was so cool.
Yeah, the like case like that and everything. They were so
Why are
sick.
they so damn big now?
So in Silent Hill, you play as Harry Mason searching for his missing daughter.
He's got a Harry what?
His daughter went missing in Silent Hill, and he's looking for her. She's also in a video game that we're going to talk about in the next video. So you better subscribe so you can go watch it, because if you know what game I'm talking about, we got Cheryl in there, we have Leon in there, we have Jill in there, we have lots of people in there, so you better subscribe. While Silent Hill didn't necessarily change like the physical like gameplay mechanics like most of the previous entries did, what kind of changed with Silent Hill was the story. Whereas like most of the stories to come before this, it was either not a story or they weren't very
juicy.
How you say good. They're just kind of, hey, we're trapped in this house, let's get out of here.
And Silent Hill was juicy.
Yeah. Silent Hill came along and very much took the psychological approach. Almost every monster in Silent Hill, in every single game, you can talk about this for almost any game, they are some sort of like attack on the character's psyche. Like you get to know the character, you get to know their rights, their wrongs, what they're afraid of, stuff like that, and you understand why certain specific monsters would be going after them. I'm not going to get too much into that because I could literally make a video on every single Silent Hill game talking about that because it's fascinating. If you want to watch us make videos on single games, let us know in the comments. I'm definitely down to do it. I think Danny's probably down to do it.
Yeah, I like games. You ever play that one you ever play that game of Condemned 2 where you gotta take pictures with the camera? It's so tight.
I haven't, but I'd be willing to. So yeah.
I'll talk about it all day. Just comment, hey, I want a video about
Insane.
Condemned 2. And I'll say, all right.
And another part of Silent Hill was that you're not a special agent. Like you're not in Resident Evil, you're like secret agents and you can like kick anything's ass. In this, you are literally just a dude looking for his daughter. So you're not trying to go out of your way to look for something to fight and to kill. Like you are very scared when an enemy comes.
I get scared when enemies come.
Like I said, I could sit here and talk about Silent Hill all day, but I'm going to try not to. It wasn't the first psychological horror game. There was Phantasmagoria in 95 before it. A game called D, also from 1995 right before it. Corpse Party was another one. But Silent Hill was the one that blew up and caught on and got everyone talking. Which also, fun fact, in case you didn't know, the atmosphere was another brilliant part of Silent Hill. If you've ever played a Silent Hill game, I'm sure the first thing you will think of is the fog. The fog was actually a workaround because of the console that it was on. The rendering distance wasn't very far. So they initially put the fog so that they didn't have to try to render stuff very far away. And it just became like the staple for the series.
That's sick.
but we're gonna keep going. So onwards, in the 2000s, there was some good games, but it wasn't anything that really switched it up for a while. There was some solid entries. I'm not gonna say there weren't, but they didn't do anything too crazy. Once we get to 2006, Dead Rising was released, and it is definitely not the most straightforward horror game. It is still a very fun and entertaining game. You play as a photographer named Frank West, and you are stuck in a mall during a zombie outbreak, and you just have to survive until the helicopter gets there to get you the hell out of there. And you are stuck in a mall. You can kind of just kick every zombie's ass. The game is a love letter to old zombie movies, but specifically Dawn of the Dead, where the movie's in a mall. You ever play Dead Rising?
No, I've never touched it.
You've never played Dead Rising?
Oh,
Oh, it's awesome. You get to run around as this dude, and you can pick up like anything in a mall and use it as a weapon. You can pick up like mannequins and like throw them around. Like some stores, like I think there's like a restaurant that has like a swordfish. You can use like a swordfish to kill zombies.
What?
Yeah, they're super sick. They have multiplayer in some of them too. We should play those.
Oh, I've seen pictures. There's a picture of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, I remember seeing it on the Xbox 360 store.
Yes, yeah. I was gonna say it's very good game, very entertaining. Just lots and lots of zombies. You can just plow through them in any way, shape, or form.
You should play it. It looks fun.
Yeah, it's definitely good. They got multiplayer in it and everything. I don't know.
Oh, this guy's got a chainsaw.
While Dead Rising would have its own legacy and its own sequels, it also made the way, got the hype up for zombies for two even bigger games to come in. But before I tell you what they are, you should, right after this video is over, go watch our last video if you want more on zombies, because it's super good. It's a quick little 9 minutes. All right, wouldn't hurt you. You'll be all right.
9.5 minutes. You got 9.5 minutes. If you made it half an hour into this video, you can add a little 9 minutes. It's not gonna hurt nobody.
But
it's not gonna hurt. Sprinkle it in.
So, in 2008,
bad year.
Right? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
If you say so.
The recession, brother.
Oh.
The stock market crash.
I was too busy.
Guys on Wall Street shot themselves.
Doggy, I was too busy focusing on Webkins and Club Penguin.
I was too focused on what McDonald's Happy Meal toy I wanted.
So, riding the coattails of the zombie hype, we get two games that I didn't know they released 1 week from each other. On November 11th, 2008, we got Call of Duty World at War, which was the first Call of Duty game to feature zombies. It had Nocturne on Toten, Verrucht, Shi No Numa, and Der Riese. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Classic maps. That was back when zombies was so good. So good. It would get better, but then it would get worse.
Yes. Yes, it would.
And
Josh, I know you're not watching this, but
and 1 week later, after World at War was released, Left 4 Dead was released on November 18th, 2008. Isn't that insane?
And they both succeeded.
Two of the biggest zombie horde games were released a week from each other.
Dude, Left 4 Dead is so fun.
Yeah. Yep.
I love the intro too with the valve with the dude's head.
Yeah, but
oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Left 4 Dead 2 kicks ass too.
Yep. We're gonna talk about Left 4 Dead 2 a little bit in the next video too. So
if you like Left 4 Dead, I'll wait it.
But after this, games would really start to change, like forever. Like it's never going to go back to the way it was for quite a few reasons. But you're not getting that today. You're getting that next week or the week after. I don't know. You'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out.
But while you're here, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you commented, liked, subscribed, the whole shebang. All right. But yeah.
Thank you for the lesson, Declan. Let us know in the comments anything you want. We gotta go. We got stuff to do. Really important stuff to do.
Tell us your favorite horror game.
Second part of this video. Bye.
Oh, bye.